New at 6, several members of a local credit union say their money is being held hostage. Some say they haven't had access to their direct deposits for 2 weeks. They can't make withdrawals, and their automatic car payments are not going through. Channel 2's Taisha Fernandez is live in Southeast Atlanta. Ty, you've been working all day to find out what's behind this.
And Linda, this is the main branch for the Atlanta Postal Credit Union right behind me. They basically share a building with the post office. Today I went inside to get answers for those members who say they have not been able to access their money for weeks.
They need to tell us really what's going on, because it's our money that they're using.
Carolyn Hopkins has an account here at the Atlanta Postal Credit Union. APCU has 6 locations in Metro Atlanta. On their website, they mention a system outage, and it says here, as of early morning, March 25th, members can now access online and mobile banking. But we spoke to several members Thursday who said things have not been restored online or inside the credit union.
I came here several times and they were saying that the system was down. So I was not going to get a paper receipt, but the money would be in there. And they said it's been down for a while. They don't know what happened.
To find out, I went inside this Decatur location. Then I went to the main branch in Southeast Atlanta. The managers I spoke with said they can't comment. There's also a credit union branch inside South DeKalb Mall. I spoke to a member there on the phone. She's been trying to get a cashier's check for 2 weeks.
Well, I feel like my money is being held hostage. And I could not complete transactions because of this.
I spoke to some other members off camera who said they haven't gotten their direct deposits. Things they have on automatic payment aren't getting paid, and it's a mess.
And they can't give me a day and a time when this would be cleared up. They just keep saying the system is down.
Now, I got a hold of a spokesperson who told me to send my questions and they'd get back to me. I asked if their systems got hacked. I asked what was the issue and when will it be fully restored. I'm still waiting, but I do want to mention that I spoke to the woman who has been trying to get a cashier's check for 2 weeks. She finally got one in the last hour. We are live here in Southeast Atlanta. Taisha Fernandez, Channel 2 Action News.
So good. I hope they get all their answers and all their money. Taisha, thank you.
And it begins. Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in the gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. Man. Like we've been saying, this video that you was looking at, says credit union members said that money being held hostage is a glimpse of what's getting ready to come with the CBC to Karagma. And that's absolutely correct according to the scriptures. We've been teaching for a while now that the MOTV, and like we always say, we sound like a broken record, but regardless, this is a relevant prophecy. But it's diverse in many ways because this is this is new where they're holding people money, or holding people's accounts at bay for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, days. Now, the average person lives paycheck to paycheck. So if you work a job, 40 hours a week, 80 hours a pay period, you're supposed to get your money bi-weekly or weekly. But when you're not getting your money after you've worked 80 hours, that's going to ruffle some feathers, man. Okay. And what they're doing is what you call gradualism. Okay, they're gradually bringing in the new central-based currency, the digital-based currency, okay, which translates central bank digital currency, which FedNow pilot program. We're actually in the pilot program of FedNow. So, according to Esau's time frame, July 1st is set to launch FedNow, okay, as an official app that pretty much your transfers and monies that you get is going to be directly through that app-based system, which the government is cutting out all middlemen. Okay, they want direct access to everything. And this is the reason why the guy from, what's his guy's name? Not WhatsApp, Cash App. And then I believe the guy from PayPal got knocked off a little while here too. So Esau Edom is getting ready to make his move, man. Okay, so we've been saying it and time again. They start playing with people's monies, people are going to be on fence about it, okay, which is a curtain call for them to hold people against their will, okay, because when people start to go batshit crazy, the only solution is the CBDC or the MOTV, Salakia. I know we've been going back and forth about what this thing is, because certain people then came out and said, we're talking about on the Edomite side, that they talked to certain bankers and moguls and so forth, and they stated that the CBDC is going to be something you can put inside you. Okay, but that's yet to be determined. Okay, because according to the scriptures, the MOTB is the RFID micro CHIP. Okay, now what they're going to call it, we don't know. We don't know if they're going to call it central bank digital currency. We don't know what they're going to call it. But according to the scriptures, it is the MOTB. So this is just another step closer into all hell breaking loose, because this article from Daily Hold says U.S. government may freeze American bank withdrawals as currency panic and capital flight mounts. So here we go, man. This is the beginning of it. It says hedge fund manager and macroeconomic expert Hugh Hendry just issued a major warning on the U.S. banking system and the American economy as a whole. It says in the new interview on Bloomberg Markets, Hendry says mass panic and capital flight away from the U.S. banking sector is entirely justified. It says Hendry stated a further decline in the M2 money supply, which in part tracks money in liquid checking accounts, could convince the U.S. government to step in and prevent citizens from taking that capital out of the banking system. And I remember it was an episode of the X-Files that came back in 2016, and I've made this reference before. But basically what happened was the banks went out on a Friday, then economic collapse, and then by Monday came, people were trying to withdraw their money and their funds from their bank accounts, and they couldn't do it. Why? Because we know that they control everything. Like if you paid attention, the ATMs, you can only withdraw a limited amount of money from the ATMs now. Versus back in the day, you can get up to like $1,000 out of certain ATMs. Then gradually they went to 500, now certain 400, 300. And depending on what type of banking you have, certain banking apps don't allow you to withdraw more than $1,000 a day. And on top of that, charging you fees and interest to take out your own money. Okay, they have what they call reverse ATMs, which basically you put the cash in. Like if you had $2,500, then basically you put $2,500 in cash into the ATM, and then it'll distribute a debit card with $2,500 on it. They did that for two reasons. First of all, to get you used to using wireless payments, such as credit cards, digital payments. Second of all, they did it to allegedly, or to make it seem like they wanted to keep down the inconvenience. Because let's just say if you wanted to buy a cash car, you can't go to the bank and get $5,000 off, or you can't go to credit, or you can't go to ATM and get $5,000 off. So if you don't have like a typical checking account from a branch, you can go and sign that money out of the account. You have to go through alternative means, meaning transferring to different accounts or going to certain places and getting what do you call those things? Those money orders, which they want to put a stop to all that stuff. Okay, but it says Hendry says the capital flight from the U.S. banks is not solely about fears on whether the FDIC will ensure deposits or above $250,000, because that's how much they're able to give you, up to $250,000. So if a bank goes down, then by the FDIC insurance, you're pretty much allotted 250 bands. But it says in blanket guarantee on deposits will not solve the problem. But think of a person that loses $1 million in the stock market, or $1 million, $250,000 ain't gonna really. It's only a fraction of the money. Not even a fraction. It's only a quarter of the money. It says, but there's capital flight deposits, flight from the banking sector seeking yield. But he says, I fear that I don't say this lightly, but in 1934, the Federal Reserve Act confiscated gold from U.S. citizens. And there you go. The hijacking of the banking cartels. And then all of a sudden in the 70s, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, which leads to this fiat-based currency today, which that was already set up anyway. But it says when it comes to where Americans can place their capital amid the uncertainty, Hendry says to its U.S. treasurers and potentially Bitcoin. But it says, yep, that's it. But even Bitcoin is being controlled to a degree too, so you can't really solely depend on that. But this is Esau Edom conjuring out wickedness, because the scriptures say that he searched out a diligent search. So this is the book of Psalm 64. It says, and I'm gonna start at verses 5. It says they can encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately, and they say, who shall see them? Because this is nothing but a trap. Okay, get you caught up in the commerce, get you all caught up in the consumerism here in Babylon, you know. Get your money game up, and all of a sudden they come and take it from you, because the people that take it from you will be the same people that you have to go to get it back. Okay, we've seen this time and time again. But it says they search out iniquities and they accomplish a diligent search. So this wasn't an overnight thing. Okay, like you can read about Behold a Pale Horse. You can go into the book 1984. It was actually a movie on that. I've never seen it, but I've heard about it. And you got movies like, not Songbird, but it was a movie called Implanted. And they showed you the plans of the elites. And even in Songbird, everything that went down to 2023. You see what I'm saying? So, hey, this thing is getting ready to pick up, Lord's will. It says they accomplish a diligent search, and both the inward thought of everyone and the heart is deep. Okay, the mindset is deep. Their think tanks, and their think tanks, their research teams, and so forth like that. Like they got men that just go around and they just observe the heavens, just to count for any chariots, man. Okay, like the Pentagon, and then you got the U.S. Department of Defense. Basically, their job is to thwart any threat to Earth or to their society, so to speak. This is the reason why they've been declassifying the Heavenly Father's chariots, which is known as the UFOs or the chariots of Israel. Okay, because Esau, he's on guard. He knows his time is short. So this is why he's speeding things up. Okay, like the 2030 agenda, allegedly they accelerated that. So therefore, 2030 can easily become 2025 now. Easily. It went from 2060 to 2035 to 2030. Now, who knows? But Lord's will, this thing gets kicked off ASAP because, it's getting to the point, it's getting out of hand. The wickedness is to the point that there's no remedy for it but judgment. Okay. Job 5, and I'm going to start at verses 12. It says, he disappointed the devices that are crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Okay. And we know what that enterprise is, this new world order. Okay, you could look on back at your dollar bill and you can look at the symbols, the symbology, because the dollar is nothing more but a talisman for the witchcraft, sorcery symbols. Like there's no coincidence. Like if you go to YouTube and you type in so-called sea theories on back of the US dollar, you'd be surprised on what you come up with. Okay, from the tower bombings to Manhattan being flooded and to all types of wickedness because, the elites there behind, they're witches, they're warlocks. Money is a talisman. That's why scriptures say, James the 5th chapter, woe to you rich men, weep and howl for the miseries that should come upon you the last days. Because all this is going to backfire on E. While you Israelites out there trying to fucking play invasive games, you're trying to avoid these prophecies, man. You're going to have to face this one way or another. And a lot of you, man, don't try to act like you was down with this thing. You was teaching it because you wasn't. Okay, like Nate, the IUIC, they're not preparing men to come into this fold. They're not preparing men to deal with the consequences ahead. They're putting off the evil day of the Most High, man. Having fashion shows at Passovers. I thought the Passover was supposed to be a solemn assembly. While you're so worried about how Sister Sarah walks eyes down the catwalk, what if Esau just rode on your whole congregation? What if he just decided to rode on your whole congregation and throw you in FEMA camps because allegedly you were inciting violence and causing insurrections, man? Because the men of the Lord, just like the men of the Lord of old, Paul, Peter, Yahweh Shai, these men were hit with a sedition charge. And we know what the penalty for being a seditionist is. You're going to go to jail and you're going to be tried under the Treason Act. And if they find you guilty, then basically you're a traitor to your country. And ultimately that's the death penalty. So while you clowns are teaching men to put off the evil day of the Lord, man, you better be teaching. You better be getting your congregation ready, man. Instead of worried about how good the fringes look on a fucking skirt. That's the problem with you jakes, man. You're not focused on the top priority ahead, man. You're focused on things that don't even mean anything. Yeah, so what? Yeah, we wear fringes. And end of point. Okay? And it says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, because this is very crafty of Esau, Edom, going back to this video here of the credit union member saying that money being held hostage. And from a credit union, that's unlike, that's weird, because credit union, you have more of an interpersonal relationship with the bank. Okay, most people, they prefer traditional credit unions over big bank branches or notable banks, because you're more likely to get the type of service you need from a credit union versus, like, let's say if you bank with Wells Fargo and, or let's say Bank of America, And let's just say if you don't have real good credit history established, or you don't have any credit history, a lot of times them banks will charge you 18 and 24% interest if you want to take out a loan for a vehicle. Versus a credit union, you can get a loan at 4 to 6%, which is dramatically cheaper, more affordable. Even though you're not supposed to be taxing usury on back of loans, because that's all interest is usury. But even then, you're more likely to get the services you need with credit unions before going to a traditional bank. But yet they're holding people's money. And I believe they did this because ultimately they want to see how people are going to react to it. Because everything they do is an experiment. They're like, okay, well, let's pull the hairs a little bit and see would they react. They pull a couple of hairs, you people just still docile. Before you know it, they pulling the whole, they scalping your ass. And before it's too late, you're screaming it's already too late. You already gave them the permission to do what they got to do. You see? And then this is the result of it. Ultimate in slavery, because this new system that's currently being set up as we speak, this is a system based on enslavement. Okay? The fourth industrial revolution is basically a digital prison, man. Okay? You're a digital prison. Okay? That's all it is, from your currency, even your mind. Like, I believe they've tested out 50 brain chips on patients, so to speak. And they're trying to see if these test runs are going to be pretty much qualified to help people out. And we read in Revelation, the 13th chapter, your right hand or your forehead. So the brain CHIPs, they're already undergo experiment. So we're there. Okay. Yep. It says he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the foolish carry headlong. Okay. So therefore they're going to go through with it, no matter how stupid and how sloppy it is. This is the plan of Esau, Edom, and we've been warning Jake. Okay. Sirach 4:1, my son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. You don't hold people's money. Like, honestly speaking, if this was like France or Greece or whatever, any of those other European nations, they would have literally been over here tearing you. They would have literally burnt these banks to the ground. See, you Americans, you hide under the guisemanship of your alleged freedoms. You ain't free. If anything, you're probably one of the most enslaved nations on the planet Earth, man, because you're mental slaves. You're slaves to your money and your possessions. So therefore, this government can have their way with you because they've already enslaved you in your lust. So when you're a slave into your lust, then you'll do anything in order to continue to partake in that lifestyle. That's why getting these people on this side of the world, micro C-hip, is something small to a giant, because you people are going to fall right for it, because they're going to threaten you. Okay, and those of you that don't want to take it, they're just going to throw you in prison, or you're going to get the death penalty, man. And we're telling our brothers in this faith that it's possible that, yeah, it ain't no possible. It's a very strong, it's going to happen, okay? You're going to have people being put to death left and right for not receiving the MARK. Okay, the thing about the men of the Lord that may die in this faith is they're going to receive a crown of righteousness. But the mass majority of you people out here that resist this, you're just going to get a bullet in the noodle. And those of you that don't kill, you're just going to turn on each other for what you do have and what you don't have. Okay, it says, make not a hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. And add not more trouble to a heart that is vexed, and defer not to give him that is in need. Okay, and that's the point, man. That's what Esau was doing with this technocracy, man. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna end it here, giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai Ba'ashim Rakakwadash. And with that, Shalom. Lord's will you were edified into the next lesson. Shalom in the Bible Ball.